Coming number 10, no authorization needed. Okay, Facebook has been straight up lying to you about what they do with your data. First off, the application called This Is Your Digital Life presented to their users that it was simply a personality app that was designed for collecting anonymous information for the purposes of psychological research. This app was created by a company called Global Science Research. In the terms and services agreement portion of it, there is an option for you to grant the application access to your Facebook. As soon as you agree to that, you have now also agreed to this third party selling your data. Now, it's alleged that this global science research company sold that information that was gathered by Facebook to Cambridge Analytica. This app, and I'm not kidding you, was downloaded by 270,000 people. Not only that, but this company also allegedly had access to the user's friends' accounts as well, just from them agreeing. It's estimated that 87 million users had their information sold to Cambridge Analytica. So from one person accepting these terms and services, people who didn't even download this app were then affected, which means they did not consent to having their information sold to a third party, and Facebook did it anyways. Coming number 9, global surveillance. Back in 2003, it was revealed that the NSA had been running a program called Prism. This program worked in collaboration with the Great Britain surveillance agency called GCHQ. So you've got leaked reports showing a relationship between the NSA and GCHQ. Now, according to the Washington Post, in tandem with some other spy agencies, they successfully tapped into the main servers of the top 9 US internet companies. They were able to get access to audio, your photos, emails, documents, and really anything else that they could. What's worse is that Facebook didn't even bat an eye when asked to hand over access to all of your data. Facebook and many other internet companies happily cooperated with this new government surveillance program, and it's probably because the incentive was so great. According to the FISA Amendments Act of 2008, any company that cooperated with the surveillance effort would then be legally immune. So if they're going for that, then you know that they're up to something much more devious. Why else would you care about legal immunity? And Facebook has been the right arm of the NSA since June of 2009. Coming to break, pushing politicians. Back in 2015, some journalists had begun publishing articles about the misuse of data by Facebook. Many of the company's newer employees were these masters of the emerging field of data science. They were capable of getting some pretty exact business insights about Facebook users. Dr. Alexander Kogan, who is the creator of This Is Your Digital Life, repeatedly denied having ever engaged in improper activity with the data that he collected through Facebook. He continued to say that it was all collected for academic study. When Facebook caught wind that people were digging into how they had collected user data, they immediately requested that Global Science Research delete that information. However, things didn't go as planned and the information was never actually deleted. They publicly cut ties with the company and claimed to have started their own investigation into the matter. On top of that, it was also revealed that Cambridge Analytica had used this Facebook user data during the 2016 US presidential election. And you know how that went. Coming number 7, facial recognition. This is perhaps one of, if not the scariest things that Facebook can do with your data. Since 2011, they have been developing this technology, and now today, Facebook has one of the most powerful and accurate artificial intelligence-based facial recognition systems in the world. Every time you tag a photo on Facebook, it triggers the facial recognition technology to learn more about what that person in the photo looks like. The same thing happens when other people tag you. For context of how good this system is, the FBI's next-gen identification system has about an 85% accuracy rate, and Facebook's is supposedly 97% accurate. Every time that we upload a photo of ourselves or a friend or a family member, we are teaching this AI how to better identify human facial features, which is pretty much the end of privacy as we know it. I mean, that's gone now, out the window. With one photo of you, someone could now easily gather any information that you've handed over to Google, Facebook, or anyone else that you've accepted their terms and services with. Coming number 6, international politics. Facebook had to meet with Congress 2 days after this big data mining scandal came to light. Although what was strange was the Information Commissioner's Office in the UK decided to pursue their own investigation and even asked the Facebook hired team to leave while they conducted their own investigation. Not only that, but the FTC and an Australian-based watchdog company were also investigating the Cambridge Analytica scandal. It's believed that they didn't just use Americans' data to impact elections in the US, they also went abroad. Imagine your data getting used to manipulate election results in another country. The worst part is that campaigns would just come to them for this service. That's the world we're living in now, folks. In at number 5, shadow profiles. Okay, this one is also pretty creepy. So even if you're sitting there right now saying, I don't even have Facebook, so they're not getting my data. Turns out they don't even need you to create an account to steal your data. Facebook actually builds what's called a shadow profile of you instead. So if you've ever shared your contact info with someone who uses Facebook, you have a shadow profile. If anyone with your contact info uses Facebook on their phone, you have a shadow profile. If anyone with your contact info has connected their email to their Facebook account, you you have a shadow profile. If anyone has ever uploaded a photo of you on Facebook, you have a shadow profile. If any one of your contacts on Twitter, Pinterest, or any other social media sites are connected to their Facebook, you have a shadow profile. They're using all of this to build a digital biometric template, achieved by taking everyone's photo with a face that is uploaded to their servers. Coming number 4, tweaking emotions. Back in 2014, it was revealed that Facebook had been recording everything from the way that you shop to births, marriages, and even deaths in the family. In fact, it was revealed that they had intentionally manipulated nearly 700,000 users just to test their algorithm for advertisements. They wanted to see how both positive and negative emotions could spread on the site. So what they did was tweak the emotional content of users' news feeds during 1 week back in 2012. They claimed it was to see if happier users would share more things, which would then result in increased advertising. The study, however, sparked a ton of outrage, and Professor Alan Woodward, a leading computer privacy and security expert at the University of Surrey, told The Independent, "This is just the latest installment of the insidious process of how people are overtly manipulated and marketed to online by the likes of Facebook," adding, "Facebook's business model is one where because the end user isn't a paying customer, they and their personal data become the product." Coming number 3, making money. Many people already know that Facebook makes their money by selling targeted ads to companies that they want to reach a certain demographic with. What a lot of people don't know though is that they can get a lot more of your data than you realize. Plus, they don't just access and sell your information, they knowingly conduct experiments to try and manipulate people into staying on their platform for longer. By far the company's worst scandal was back in October of 2010. It was revealed that tens of millions of Facebook users had their data compromised while playing popular games like Farmville. Not only did they try and push you these crappy in-app purchases, but they straight up stole your data while you were distracted playing games. In number 2, reading messages. They have also been accused of reading your messages and searching for keywords to build a profile of who you are so that they can better, again, target you with ads. This is something that they have repeatedly denied, but Professor Woodward believes this alleged monitoring of Facebook messages is probably one of the biggest manipulations out there. People are just not aware that their communications might be looked at in this way. A Facebook whistleblower, Frances Haugen, recently exposed an even darker side to Facebook. She told the Senate panel that Congress must intervene to solve the crisis created by Facebook. The former product manager for civic misinformation at the company told lawmakers that Facebook will always put their own profits over the health and safety of the user, which is why the algorithm has been designed to steer people into more high engagement posts that could end up being harmful. For example, she said that this algorithm could steer young users away from something as simple as like healthy recipes into content promoting anorexia just because it has more engagement on it. Last but certainly least, on our number 1 spot, to increase profits. The truth of the matter is, this is the only way that Facebook can make money. The problem is that the people who signed up for this social media site had trusted that their information would not be stolen or sold to companies for profit. Zuckerberg has denied involvement and said that there was a breach of trust, but the data sharing is something that needs to be fixed. Andrew Bosworth, who served as vice president in advertising, said that Facebook is supposed to be designed so that the user's personal data isn't being sold. He then added that they use the information to show their users better ads, which in turn will lead to increased profit for Facebook. It's like they work on commission only, so they claim to not get paid for the exchange of the information, but they do get paid by advertisers to promote specific products on Facebook. With this recent Facebook whistleblower testifying in front of a Senate panel that the company knows it's harming people and they have chosen profit instead, we thought it would be a great idea to highlight the dark truth about Facebook. Something that Mark Zuckerberg has blogged about before is the idea of Facebook being its own country. However, if that were ever the case, it would be one of the second largest countries in the world with about 1.3 billion active users. Moreover, it wouldn't have to spy on its citizens like most countries do. The people that live in the country of Facebook hand over their data willingly. Back in 2014, it was revealed that Facebook had been recording everything from the way that you shop to births, marriages, and deaths in the family. In fact, it was even revealed that they had intentionally manipulated nearly 700,000 users just to test their algorithm for advertisements. They wanted to see how positive and negative emotions could spread on the site. So what they did was tweak the emotional content of users' news feeds during 1 week back in 2012. They claimed it was to see if happier users would share more things, which would result in increased advertising. The study, however, sparked a ton of outrage, and Professor Alan Woodward, a leading computer privacy and security expert at the University of Surrey, told The Independent, "This is just the latest installment of the insidious process of how people are overtly manipulated and marketed to online by the likes of Facebook," adding, "Facebook's business model is one where because the end user isn't a paying customer, they and their personal data become the product. Many people already know that Facebook makes their money by selling targeted ads to companies that want to reach a certain demographic. What a lot of people don't know though is that they can get a lot more of your data than you realize. Plus, they don't just access and sell your information, they knowingly conduct experiments to try and manipulate people into staying on their platform for longer. By far, the company's worst scandal was back in October of 2010. It was revealed that tens of millions of Facebook users had their data compromised while playing popular games such as Farmville. On top of that, they also have been accused of reading your messages and searching for keywords to build a profile of who you are so that they can better target you with ads. This is something they have repeatedly denied, but Professor Woodward believes this alleged monitoring of Facebook messages is probably one of the biggest manipulations out there. People are just not aware that their communications might be looked at in this way. Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen recently exposed an even darker side to Facebook. She told the Senate panel that Congress must intervene to solve the crisis created by Facebook. The former product manager for civic misinformation at the company told lawmakers that Facebook will always put their own profits over the health and safety of the user, which is why the algorithm has been designed to steer people onto more high engagement posts that could end up being harmful to them. For example, she said that this algorithm could steer young users away from something like healthy recipes into content promoting anorexia. Her solution to all of this was for them to just change the algorithm and stop focusing on delivering posts that create engagement. Instead, she just wanted to see, a more chronological feed for posts. After she leaked a ton of private documents from the company exposing them, Haugen said that she believes that she did the right thing in coming forward. She goes on to say, "I came forward because I recognized a frightening truth. Almost no one outside of Facebook knows what happens inside Facebook. The company's leadership keeps vital information from the public, the US government, its shareholders, and governments around the world." Specifically, the Instagram wing of the company, which apparently had plans of creating an Instagram for Kids app. However, amid all of this drama, they also announced a temporary pause on that new app. The whistleblower touched on this and said, "Facebook understands that if they want to continue to grow, they have to find new users," adding that means ingraining kids with habits. Senator Richmond Blumenthal, chairman of the subcommittee, called on Zuckerberg to come before the committee to explain the company's actions, adding that the company seems to be morally bankrupt for refusing to change their algorithm based on reforms presented by their own researchers. Senator Roger Wicker, the chairman of the Commerce Committee, called the hearing part of the process of demystifying big tech, with Blumenthal telling Francis that he believes there are other whistleblowers out there and that she's leading by example. This whistleblower, though, truly shows people that there is an alternative path in the tech world, one that can be more responsible with user data and one that can be more caring about children using social media.
Everyone wants that pretty blue check mark on their Instagram profile. It means that you're somebody special, a celebrity, or a person of notoriety. There are people with hundreds of thousands of followers without a blue check mark, and there are people with only a few thousand or a few hundred who are verified. But having that blue check mark next to your name on Instagram might not be all it's cracked up to be. This is the dark truth about being verified on Instagram. So when I came across an article written by a journalist who is verified on Instagram, I thought it was interesting. Very interesting. Her name is Lindsay Ellefson. She has a couple thousand followers on Instagram and she's verified. She recently wrote an article for Mashable called "Instagram Verification Will Make You Public Enemy #1." What a title, dude! Click. Just so everybody understands, Lindsay needs that blue check mark. As a journalist, having it means faster replies from sources, people or companies that you're researching for articles. Of course, Lindsay has found that having that blue check mark gets her places. It is somewhat of a way of showing that you've made it, you're the real deal, and people take her more seriously. But being verified doesn't come with more than her fair share of harassment. On her phone, Lindsay has saved screenshots of some of the most outrageous messages strangers have sent her since she got verified on Instagram. She's basically been documenting what it's like to be verified, and honestly, it makes the whole blue checkmark thing seem like it's a lot more trouble than it's worth. In her DMs, Lindsay has received dozens of messages from strangers harassing her about the fact that she has a blue checkmark and they don't. Messages range from "Why the f are you verified?" and "How the f did you get verified?" as if to say you're a nobody and you don't deserve verification. She's also constantly harassed by people who want to buy her verified account from her. Essentially, her DMs are a timeline of hostility. Based on Lindsay's research, the harassment seems to be directed mostly at women who are verified. She also claims that being verified results in triple the amount of unsolicited pics. When she asked verified males what their experiences were, they didn't experience the harassment to the same degree, if at all. So for example, Andrew Carell, senior editor at the Daily Beast with 755 followers, gets spam messages but not necessarily harassment. A female musician, however, Polly, with 12,500 followers, sees no benefit to her blue checkmark. Mostly she just gets tons of messages from annoyed, unverified users. Other women in media who Lindsay reached out to, who didn't want to be named for fear of further harassment, said men she didn't didn't know would send her messages and tell her their out-of-line opinions on her appearance. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, now that I'm verified on Instagram, you have the right to tell me that I'm ugly? Right, because, you know, only supermodels are verified on Instagram. The blue checkmark even affects Lindsay's dating and relationship life. 4 men that Lindsay have gone out with have brought it up in person. One, an actor with no concrete acting credits, told her that if either of them should be verified, it should be him, the actor, not her. So the point is, if you don't have that blue checkmark, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not a notable person. If you have it, it either means you're a celebrity or it means you know the right people with the right connections. All you pretty much need to be verified is a boss, a publicist, or a friend that works in public relations. If you do manage to get yourself a checkmark, don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing, but don't be surprised if you start getting harassed.
Social media influencers are the talk of the town and the darlings of the internet, but is there a dark side? The pursuit of being an Instagrammer actually sends people legitimately insane. Firstly, a lot of people want to be influencers so badly that they're putting themselves into debt. In May 2018, 26-year-old Lisette Calverio got herself into $10,000 worth of debt for pretending to have a lifestyle that she simply couldn't afford. Why? For the gram. She said that she would buy expensive clothes and take herself on luxury trips simply so she could post pictures to her Instagram to try and boost her following and show off her aspirational life. The pressure to keep up appearances almost put her on the streets because she was so badly in debt, which is absolutely insane. Speaking of the streets, influencers are also acting crazy out and about. Recently, an article ran on multiple international news outlets about Instagrammers acting like absolute twazzocks in Chernobyl or other places with dark histories. For those of you that don't know, Chernobyl and the connecting town of Pripyat are ghost towns following a nuclear disaster in 1986. Now, in this disaster, 31 people directly died as a result, and thousands more indirectly died through radiation poisoning, so it isn't really a place for a sexy selfie. A sexy selfie is exactly what the world got from Instagrammer NZ Nick though, who posted a bum selfie in a disaster zone. Like, what is actually wrong with people? She did a topless shoot in a gas mask as well, and honestly, I'm so confused. Influencer Angel Set Free also followed suit and did an underwear shoot in Pripyat, which again, I don't get it. Are influencers so obsessed with getting the right picture that they forget common decency? It actually seems so. Decency is one thing, but influencers also neglect safety in order to get the perfect selfie too. I say influencers and I don't mean everyone. I guess it's just people that are desperately trying to stand out, but they're putting themselves in real danger. A recent Vice article claimed that hundreds of people had died taking selfies in the past few years. The pressure is so intense to have a great picture that influencers and aspiring influencers will actually die for it, and that just isn't cricket in my book. I know that we have spent a lot of time talking Instagram influencers, but content creators in general are guilty of this too. In 2018, a wannabe YouTuber, Mona Lisa Perez, was jailed for shooting her boyfriend for a video prank that went wrong. 3 Canadian YouTubers actually died from channel High on Life in 2018 when they fell down a waterfall. Like, don't mess with nature. Capture it for the gram, sure, but like, what are you thinking? A lot of influencers will tell you that heavily curated and aspirational images aren't actually real, or by the time they get to eat the food that they're posing with, it's cold. So speaking of fake, I'm really glad that Instagram and other social platforms are stamping it out, but some influencers themselves are fake. They've actually paid for followers, which, I don't know, is that some kind of fraud? Also, imagine wanting to be successful so badly that you're willing to pay for fake people to follow you just so other people think that you look good. Like, what is wrong with our generation? So away from their fake for a moment, I want to move on to discuss the effect that Instagram and other social platforms have on mental health. I talked about appearances and keeping them up being pretty stressful, and that's true. A recent study discussed in an article on the Guardian website also found that the more time people reported spending on Instagram, the more anxious and depressed they actually felt in their real life. This is everyone, not just people creating content specifically for the gram. People viewing content are feeling bad about their lives, lives because Instagram is a pastel palace of aspiration, and the people actually creating the viral images are feeling bad because they're kind of living a bit of a lie. Is Instagram asking us to be inauthentic? And what further psychological implications does that have? There have been further studies about the mental health implication of likes on social media. This has led to Instagram as a platform trialing the removal of likes. This year, a viral story sent the internet into a frenzy when mum blogger Katie Bauer revealed that her 6-year-old son receives the least amount of likes on Instagram out of all of her children. Like, A, how is she even counting and noticing that? And B, like, what? That should never be an actual thing. I worry as well about people doing things they aren't comfortable with for likes. For example, it's an observable trend that females get more likes and popularity the less clothing they're wearing on social platforms. And what about young girls who want to make it as influencers? Would they be encouraged to show more of their bodies than they might be comfortable with in order to get internet famous? It's actually pretty gross, and that's without even wading into the swamp that is the comments section. A couple more things before we round it out, but another murky area about being an influencer is how much people actually care about you. Why are the people following you? Like, what are they following you for? Do they just want to look at you? How many people are actually being influenced by your actions? Yes, for a lot of us it is trackable and profitable, but a big reach doesn't necessarily mean big engagement. Recently there was a story about an Instagrammer with 2.6 million followers that couldn't sell 36 t-shirts. 2.6 million followers couldn't sell 36 shirts. Like, what? I don't know what went wrong there, but that is absolutely shocking. Finally, one of the darkest truths about being an influencer is that actually old media kinda wants you to fail. Notice how many headlines there are out there about YouTubers and Instagrammers not doing things right and failing. PewDiePie was absolutely crucified by the Wall Street Journal. The Daily Mail comes after influencers daily. Why? Because self-made celebrities scare them, and honestly I'm a little bit glad. Maybe this is a bright side of being an influencer, but it throws off traditional power structures. Having to pander to executives and producers and do Weinstein-esque favors to be famous is still a thing, but it's becoming more of a story of the past as people turn to their own creations. Creators can march to the beat of their own drums even if it is stressful without having to rely on old world money platforms. They can gain their own following and use their own voice, and it scares old media, it really does, the way YouTube scares traditional broadcast television. Can influencers be trusted as content creators? Old media are gonna keep on coming after them until they take the power back, although I personally don't know if they can. As inauthentic as being an influencer can be, it's a darn side more authentic than a lot of scripted media and reality TV shows out there. So, gonna put my cup of tea down.
They recently added a new feature, Fleets, and users are now fearing that the app's new feature can make Twitter even more toxic, which I didn't think it was possible, but they've outdone themselves yet again. And it's something that literally no one asked for, yet for some reason, Twitter decided to implement it anyways. Showing the profile pics of people you follow in little circles at the top of the app, exactly like Instagram, Twitter Fleets last 24 hours. Just like Instagram. I wonder where Twitter got this whole story idea from. Probably Snapchat if I'm being honest. Remember that app? And of course you can add text, photos, videos, as well as tweets to your fleet, which make it quite literally identical to Instagram stories. It's just on Twitter now. Of course, users were quick to complain about how much they hate the new feature, but it seems likely it's here to stay. That being said, a handful of Twitter users highlighted an issue with fleets that Twitter is no stranger to: harassment on the app. As I said before, Twitter is one of the most toxic platforms out there. It's chaotic, and knowing this, I try not to go on often, yet I find it's one of my most used apps. Maybe that says something about me, but I'll save that for my psychologist. Going back to fleets, users pointed out a handful of issues or ways that the new feature can lead to even more harassment on the platform, which they've been trying to deal with for years now. Andrew Thaler, who apparently has blocked Donald Trump on Twitter and has been blocked by number 45 himself, tweeted out that even though they've blocked each other, he can still tag Donny Boy on his fleets. This is bad news. The tweet reads, I quote, "Holy mola, you could tag accounts that have blocked you and that you've blocked. Me and POTUS are mutual blockers in a fleet, and the tag will still work to direct your followers to that account. That is not good." What that means is that you can use Fleet to direct your followers to harass someone, and there is no way for the target to identify the source of the harassment. Shut it down at Twitter. A very interesting way of looking at things, and given that fleets only last 24 hours, it would make things that much more difficult for you to know who directed these users to you or where they're coming from. On top of this, when someone reposts your tweet on their fleet, the original user doesn't get notified. Twitter user Bog Boogie confirmed this by testing it out themselves. I quote their tweet reading, "I see a lot of folks saying, why does it matter? And they don't notify you on Instagram, and that's all well and good, but Twitter is not Instagram. And I personally feel this can easily lead to targeted harassment at a scale that is incredibly large and yet invisible." Twitter support would actually end up responding to the thread with, I quote, "We understand the concern here. The team is working on sending notifications for when someone shares your tweet in a fleet." A spokesperson also confirmed that if a user is in fact blocked, they shouldn't be able to tag you in their fleet's story and vice versa. The spokesperson said the company is, I quote, "always listening to feedback, and that keeping people safe on Twitter is a top priority." I'm sure it won't be long before that bug in regards to the blocked person is fixed, but it seems fleets caused the app even more problems in general, as the features weren't fully working for everyone. Just a day after rolling the feature out worldwide, Twitter support tweeted out, "We're slowing down the rollout of fleets to fix some performance and stability problems. If you don't have the feature yet, you may not get it for a few more days. We love that so many people are using fleets and want to ensure we're providing the best experience for everyone." I mean, I'm still not using voice memos, nor do I know anyone who does on Twitter, so I feel these stories or fleets may not stick, but really, who knows? Pretend the app suppressed disabled users. I know it sounds like a wild claim and I wish it weren't true, but the app has even admitted to it. Although their intentions were good, they wanted to reduce the amount of cyberbullying on their platform, but it seems the logic is kind of flawed. Their handbook explicitly said that TikTok moderators should look out for creators who would fall under the following categories: disabled people, people with facial disfigurements, people with other facial problems such as birthmark or squint, Down syndrome, and autism. The reason for the policy was because these users were susceptible to bullying or harassment based on their physical or mental condition, according to TikTok. I mean, I get they were trying to protect people, but by censoring someone based on a disability is kind of a form of bullying, like you're singling them out, which isn't okay. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of what you're doing. At number 9, artists don't get paid much for music. A good example would be the song Mia Khalifa by I Love Friday. The song seemingly blew up on TikTok and spawned a challenge of sorts after TikTok user Nyan Cosplay posted a video dancing to the song. More and more users started to download the app just to make their own dance to the song, and at one point it's believed if TikTok paid royalties the way YouTube does, the young rap group could have been paid out at least $150,000. Unfortunately, TikTok found a loophole of sorts which allows artists' music to be used without having to compensate them, or at least much. In the case of I Love Friday, their manager struck a deal to get promotion through the app in exchange for fair use of the song. So I mean, that's kind of a win. Coming at number 8, they don't care about you. Unfortunately, like every app, there are some problems. People's accounts may get banned randomly, or your video may be taken down. If your livelihood is TikTok, as in it's how you make all your money, or at least your brand, and monetize it elsewhere, it'd be a shame for you to lose your account. And if you did, you'd want an explanation of why you lost it and how to get it back. Unfortunately, if you find yourself to be so unlucky, you won't get much help from TikTok's support team. They don't really seem to care about their users and will reply with robotic automated messages if you reach out to them via Twitter. Our buddy Johnny Rogers had his TikTok banned for no reason, and he still hasn't been told why. Probably because his content was trash. Totally kidding, Johnny's my boy. Go follow him on TikTok too. Follow me too. And at number 7, people are pushing political agendas. TikTok is seen by many as a kids app. Although people of all ages are creating content as well as enjoying content on a daily basis, the majority believes the app is for kids. And it mostly is made up of teens or young adults, which is why pushing a political agenda on young, impressionable teens and adults could be a problem. In fact, it was a problem when over a dozen ISIS videos were removed from the app. It was reported that Islamic State propagandists were posting videos on the app, including Islamic State anthems, corpses, and even beheadings, which is horrifying to even think about. Moving on to number 6, the US thinks the app is a national security risk. Now, it's no secret the US and China are in a bit of a tech war, as well as a trade war, and possibly even a data war. Which is why the US sees TikTok as a possible threat to the well-being of Americans. For those of you unaware, TikTok is owned by ByteDance, a Beijing company. When ByteDance acquired Musical.ly in 2018 for about $1 billion, they said they'd be keeping the newly acquired app separate from their Chinese apps. Until they didn't. For those of you who don't know, the company then merged Musical.ly into TikTok and the app blew up. The US government, however, isn't cool with this, and given the fact that China passed the National Intelligence Law in 2017, which requires companies to hand over data if asked, well, it could be a problem. Although TikTok claims the data isn't at risk, some experts fear the company could collect people's information and send it overseas. And at number 5, the app could inspire dangerous challenges. So the app's policies say don't do anything on the app you wouldn't do in person or the public eye. But as we know, people will do anything for fame, and what you may feel is inappropriate to the public eye could be deemed perfectly okay in my opinion. In fact, it probably is. As we know, when challenges take over any app, they do so by storm. Really, this could happen with any app, but given that TikTok is the next big thing, I'm going to say it's one of the most dangerous. It's new, there's tons of opportunity to be a TikTok star because it's so new, and this could lead to users doing unsafe things in hopes of just getting noticed. You know, just doing it for the clout or for the gram, but in this case, doing it for the talk. Doing it for the TikTok. Doing it for the tick, I don't know. And at number 4, the app is sexist. Now this one actually comes from personal experience. I made a TikTok account and uploaded a funny Respect the Drip Karen video, which ended with a shot of me in the mirror wearing nothing but these tight neon pink striped shorts. I was topless, yes, but I didn't feel I was showing anything inappropriate by any means. Yet for some reason the video got taken down. However, I see tons of videos of girls dancing, whether they're wearing quite revealing clothing or just straight up twerking, that is allowed. It's much more sexual than what I was doing, is all I'm trying to say. It seems TikTok is quite the opposite of Instagram. Instagram was known for removing any photos which showed even the slightest of a woman's nipple. They've since relaxed on their censorship, but it seems TikTok is doing the opposite. They're okay with girls shaking their bums and dancing half naked, but if a guy poses without a shirt, it violates community guidelines. I don't understand. At number 3, the app controls freedom of speech. 17-year-old TikTok user Feroza Aziz went viral after posting a video to the app showing her attached eyelash extensions while educating people on the human rights crisis taking place in China regarding Muslims and other minority groups. After the video would blow up, Aziz would end up losing her entire TikTok account, and upon her arguing her case, they would eventually reinstate the account. However, Aziz claimed that the app was trying to silence her and take away the spotlight from what's happening in China. TikTok said she was banned because of a video she posted on one of her older accounts, which really doesn't make much sense to me. It seems like some backtracking because they were caught. I don't know, guys. Seems sus if you ask me. Like, you have one account, make some crazy content that isn't good, you make another account, and they take down that new account because of some old content on another one of your accounts. At number 2, the app banned pro-LGBT content. More specifically, in Turkey, the app's local moderators were told to censor any LGBT content posted in the country. To clarify, homosexuality in Turkey isn't illegal. Yet still, for some reason, it was reported that in Turkey, moderators were told to censor content showing, I quote, intimate activities, holding hands, kissing, touching, between homosexual lovers, end quote. They've since changed the policies and admitted to this, releasing a statement that reads, I quote, "We have since made significant progress in establishing a more robust, localized approach. However, we recognize the need to do more, and we are actively working with local third parties and independent advisors to ensure our processes are appropriate." End quote. So, I guess it's kind of a win. And finally, at number 1, predators. Unfortunately, TikTok is a goldmine of sorts for the sick people out there. Makes me sick to my stomach even talking about this, but it's a sad reality. A good example would be TikTok user The Buddy, real name Buddy Haynes. Although it seems following a police investigation, Haynes was not arrested due to a lack of evidence. If he continues behaving this way, I have no doubt he will be caught.